So Inside Out, fascinating idea. I just want to ask you both how you came up with such an interesting concept.
Well, layers, I think. You know,
Right.
the first thing that appeared to me was the idea of emotions as characters. And that seemed really intriguing. And then at that time, my daughter was 11, and she had changed quite a bit from being a goofy, funny little happy kid to being a little more serious and quiet. And that made us think, yeah, I wonder what's going on inside her head, you know. And bringing that forward to you guys.
Yeah, that just excited us. It created a good volley. Like,
Yeah.
that has potential. That could be an emotional but fun.
And then we started
movie.
thinking about this journey through the mind,
Yeah.
maybe not the brain so much, not like blood vessels and dendrites and things, more the conceptual mind of, you know, dreams and personality and things like this. And how could we make that physical and kind of real on the screen? So it was and then, you know, working it over and over and over. We have this whole process we can talk about of working the stories, but they don't come fully formed. What you're seeing on the screen is like version 157 or something.
Were you ever worried that it was too conceptual when you started off? Because like you say, you don't see the brain as a physical thing. You see it more from an imagination point of view.
It didn't bother me. I was kind of blindly optimistic about the whole thing. I thought this was going to be fun, and it was, but it was a lot harder than I thought.
Yeah, I don't know if we were worried that it was too conceptual, but it was tough. I mean, it was, for example, we screen the movie every 4 months at Pixar internally on
'cause we're making
storyboards
it.
that we draw and so forth. And it took us a lot longer to get it from a concept. Everyone would even say, oh, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
John Lasseter and Brad Bird, this is a great concept, great idea. And they weren't saying the word movie.
Yeah, made us a little
until like
worried.
4 or 5 screenings in.
Yeah.
So that speaks to the fact that it was a little more complex and harder to tie it together than maybe films in the past. But it was fun as well.
Was it always the intention to have 5 emotions, or how big or small did you go with that idea?
Well, that came from research, you know, and there's no consensus amongst scientists of how many emotions there are. Some, surprisingly, said there are as few as 4. I think there was a study in Glasgow last year that they basically boiled it down to 4. Others said, you know, 27 or so.
Right.
So we ended up thinking, okay, it's got to be large enough to have a good ensemble comedy, but not so much that you're like, wait, who's that again, and what does she do? So
Yeah.
5 seemed like a good number.
Is that the same with pairing up the voices with the emotions as well, in terms of how identifiable they were?
Yeah, we wanted very clear, you know, like Lewis Black is anger, you know, that was very clear. They also had to pair well. So, you know, as we cast sadness, we wanted to make sure Joy had a very different sounding voice so that there's no confusion over who's talking, and also so they spark well against each other.
I might be missing something obvious, but with the colours of the emotions, they all seem quite obvious, apart from fear. So I was wondering where the purple came from for the fear.
It's a very interesting answer, isn't it? Because we didn't really know what fear would be, and purple was the color we hadn't used, I think.
Yeah, he fleshed out the group well.
So he fleshed it out. But now our hope is that like that will become the color of fear. People, like you know, like I'm red with anger.
Purple
People,
with fear.
Yeah, that's our goal. Help get it out there.
We'll get that message out. Now, there's an imaginary character that we see in the film as well. I mean, something that I think everyone can identify with in some sort of way. Was it one that you drew on personally, or where did that idea come from?
That idea came from a bunch of different folks kind of getting together. I know I had an imaginary friend he was named Norman. He was this very small elephant, which is maybe a lot of people had elephants, or they loved elephants as kids. So that's why we thought, well, let's make it an elephant. And of course, cotton candy or candy floss, you know, is who doesn't love
I
candy
like how you say,
floss?
of course.
Of course.
Obviously.
So,
This goes without saying.
yeah, that's right.
He was
he
a lot
came
of
together
fun.
pretty quickly.
Yeah, he did. He did. Great design, Chris Sasaki,
Yeah.
and everybody designed him at the studio. But we had a lot of fun with him.
One of the things we noticed from the film, in the trailers we see the scene where the other characters show their imaginations and what's going on in their minds. In the film we don't see so much of that. What was the thinking behind that and limiting it to just one character?
You mean Riley or
Riley, sorry, yeah. I mean, we don't see what's going on inside the parents' minds as much as we do in Riley's.
Well, we were tempted because it's always great fun and we get good laughs when we go to parents and other characters. But, you know, the main storyline is about Joy. And the more you diverge into some of these other minds, you're away from that main story. And you want to make sure that we're flowing along and remaining focused on that.
Excellent. And also the location of San Francisco I thought was fascinating. Somewhere obviously you guys are very familiar with. But
Yeah.
what was it like bringing that to the screen?
That was cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. Our art department, even though we're all from there, would go over there and just shoot pictures. And we wanted it to I guess, be two things: sort of the picture postcard version of San Francisco or any great city, but also the real. You know, we live there, so we also wanted to show what it really looks like and feels like. And it's not always the Golden Gate Bridge with a cable car going by. It's also in a complex city. It's a little scarier, especially to a kid, right?
We also used a lot of elements that are inherent to San Francisco to reflect Riley's own inner sense of how she's feeling. So, you know, as the film goes on, there's more fog and less saturation and light to the thing. So it provided a lot of great opportunity.
Excellent. And finally, you mentioned your daughter. Has she seen it yet? And have your kids seen it? And what has been the general reaction from youngsters to the film?
It's been overwhelmingly great. I mean, little kids, there was concern amongst, not so much us, but a lot of folks that maybe the film was too complex for little kids, but they totally get it, almost more than adults sometimes. And it really, the film seems to speak to people of all ages, which was our intention, but it seems to be working out that way.
It does. We're really proud about that. My kids loved it. I have 3 kids, and one of the things that I've gotten a kick out of is they've made these socks with the characters, you know, joy and sadness. And what my girls do is they mix them up. I thought that was so like cool. So she has anger and fear on one, or joy and sadness on the other.
Do they wear what they're feeling that day, or just what looks good?
It's a very careful decision. So that, I don't know, that was I was really proud when I saw that. Like, oh, they get it because they're choosing their socks.
I think that would make life a lot easier if we all wore those socks.
I think so.
Oh, you're feeling good today.
Look out. Warning.
He's upset.
Sadness. Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
HeyUGuys.
So I'm sorry, which outlet are you from?
I'm from HeyUGuys.
HeyUGuys, okay, cool.
HeyUGuys.
That's the one. Yeah. It's from that? Yeah.
From Electric Company?
From Goonies.
Goonies,
yeah.
It was also an electric company, I think. It didn't at the very beginning. They probably didn't have that program here, but it was on PBS, and it would start with "Hey, you guys."
That might be where Goonies got it from.
Oh, maybe.
Chunk, right?
Yeah, Chunk says it. So, yeah, maybe that makes sense actually. I was wondering where he came from. Huh?
Well, we worked that out.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey!